Heidi ho, my peeps. As you saw from a recent video, I'm really struggling with some tangled hair, lots of mats. And someone had asked me about this if I liked it. I love the smell. This is the first time I've used it. I love the smell. It's nice and clean, but it doesn't seem to have as much slip as the other types that I've used. Um, I've used the Barbie one that Grant got me. While the smell was really sugary, kind of smelled like candy or cotton candy or something, the smell was a little, I don't know, I didn't like the smell all that much, but it worked beautifully. It had much more slip than this seems to have. So I don't think I'm as happy with this, but I mean it's obviously getting it's getting the tangles out. All right, so why am I showing you my tangled mess of hair while I detangle? Well, there's a reason. I was just going through comments, answering comments, and there was a comment from someone who said something like, your house is a real mess. How do you like all that clutter or something that actually was a yes or no question? And my immediate response was no. Well, it was what they asked was a no question. They asked something like, "Don't you want to get rid of all that clutter?" Something along that line. I should have remembered it. I don't. But anyway, point is, my immediate reaction was no. I don't want to get rid of all this clutter. And then I thought about that. What do I mean exactly by I don't want to get rid of all this clutter? Because I'm always yapping about how I want to go outside and throw stuff away and how I want to go through drawers and organize things and blah, blah, blah. And it occurred to me that clutter comes in different forms. Clutter comes in the form of having too many things, too many items. Um, Sometimes, and then if you have too many items, there's a certain percentage of those items are items that you love and you don't want to get rid of. And then there are items that you don't love and you want to get rid of. And I was thinking about what's my percentage of items that I love that I don't want to get rid of. And I would say, I mean, when you look around my house and you see what's on my walls, what's on my shelves, what I have piled up here and there, primarily as decor or, raw materials for things like crafts and stuff, I would say 95% of the stuff that I have in my house is clutter that I love. Items, things that I adore, things I would not get rid of. Even if I took them out of my house, I would just pack them up in boxes and label them and keep them because I love them. So the clutter inside my house is primarily stuff I love. Now, not all of it. I mean, I've got, you know, stuff that needs to be thrown out in the kitchen and a few things on the table that need to be thrown out. But, most of what's on my table just needs to be filed or put in its spot where it belongs back in the bathroom or the kitchen or wherever it happens to belong. And so I thanked that commenter for giving me an idea for this video. I wanted to talk about clutter and what it means. Now, if I go outside and I take a look at the clutter, I would say 50% of what is outside I want to see gone. A lot of it is stuff that's like tools that are lying around and decor items that haven't been put where they belong, things like that. But there is a ton of stuff out there that just needs to go. So that makes sense because I spend most of my time in the house, or have been spending most of my time in my house in recent months. So I haven't been outside to do any maintenance. I've been doing all my maintenance inside. Um, So the answer to the question was no. I don't want to throw away any of my clutter, really. I mean, not, you know, substantively throw away anything. And then I got to thinking about how across the scope of humans, how some of us really have a hard time with clutter, do not like it. It makes us crazy. While others of us can't stand a blank white wall. And Grant and I actually we were watching a British show about people who want to move from the city to the country. And so they take these people out to whatever county in Great Britain they're interested in living in, and they look at houses. Well, the houses, many of them, most of them, they date from the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. They're old houses. But when you walk in, they have been renovated, and you see all these expanses of white wall and recessed lighting and um, um, new cabinets, new stuff. And um, the beauty of what was there originally is, in large part, it's gone. It's not in the house anymore. And I was telling Grant, I mean, after we'd watched two or three of these, I was telling him how all that expansive white wall makes me want to throw up. I mean, it makes me nauseated to see that much blank wall space. And I wonder about that. I wonder, why is it I have such a hard time with blank wall space? And I think maybe it has to do with creativity. When I see blank wall space, I don't see the blank wall. I see the things that should be on it or could be on it. I see the artwork and the shelving and the wainscoting, and I see the coffered walls, and I see the Morris original wallpaper from the 1910s, and I see clocks and mirrors and portraits and uh, just stuff. I mean, that's when I see a blank white wall, that's what I see. I see its possibilities. So why is a plain blank wall so upsetting to me? Why do the possibilities matter more than the plain blank wall? I think part of that has to do with um, the vibes I get from old stuff primarily. Um, Things made of plastic don't give me any vibes, so I don't tend to collect things made of plastic. However, things made of bakelite or celluloid, which are precursors to plastic, sometimes lucite, I often get a lot of vibes from those things. Um, Things that were used on a regular basis, I often feel a real affinity for. Things like old irons, toasters, coffee pots, china, flatware, glassware, tea towels, aprons, tools, hand tools, linens, stuff like that. I just, it's like I pick up this vibration from that stuff that I find very calming. Now, I'm not naive. I know how much harder it was 100, 200, 300, and on into the past years ago than it is now. I mean, there's a good chance neither one of my kids would be alive right now if I were living back in the 1700s and 1800s, because so many kids died in childhood. They died of accidents. They died as apprentices at 8 years old, working in, you know, threshing rooms and all sorts of stuff. So I don't have a romantic notion of the past being better than the present is. I think across the board, all in all, we live in the best time for humanity right now, in terms of opportunities for both both genders, all genders, whatever. I don't know how many genders we've got these days, but whatever, for all people. We live in a land of opportunity. You know, sexual discrimination notwithstanding, we still live in a land of opportunity. Um, Greater than I think it has ever been in the past. It's been kind of good on and off in the past, but nothing like it is now. Uh, in terms of our health care and um, the machines we have to help us with our daily life, there's never been anything like this. This is the pinnacle right here. We're living in it right now. But part of what we give up to live in this time, what we lack living in this time, we lack the human touch that went into things before the Industrial Revolution and shortly thereafter. A human being made that iron that my grandmother carried across the United States, great great grandmother carried across the United States in a covered wagon. That iron was made by a person who cared enough about what they did to do a good job, and knew that the longer that iron lasted, the more value it had. Um, the embroidered and uh, lace edged towels that I have, those were made very carefully by hand by somebody who was quite skilled. I mean, doing all of that crochet and embroidery and the drawn work and all that stuff that people put on the edges of their linen, that was incredibly skilled and time consuming work. Um, Tools like a scythe or a hoe or a rake, old tools, had such craftsmanship just in them by their very nature. Um, I think that is the thing that we don't have in modern machine goods. You don't feel the humanity um, coming from the items. Um, Even things like old stoves or ranges or cookers, as they call them in the UK or used to, an old um, an old oil stove in a beautiful enamel finish. Those things, they're they're they may have been made back in the early 1900s, but they're still being used today, and they're still just as effective and efficient as they were back then. And people who have them keep them. They don't get rid of them. Um, there's one particular type. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know if it's aga or aga. It's spelled AGA. Those things are, you can't touch them. They're so expensive. And people who have them hold on to them. Um, and you can see the human craftsmanship in those. Um, so that, I think, is why I surround myself with old things, old photographs. Looking into an old photograph transports me. I mean, it just takes me to a different place, and I see all the possibilities for what's going on in the photo, and what came right before it, what came right after it, and who might be related to the people that are in this photo that you don't see in this photo. That sort of stuff. That my mind just kind of goes and goes and goes when I start thinking about that. So that's why I love old photos. They goose my creativity in ways that really nothing else does. So I think that's probably why I have such a huge collection of photographs. I feel the same way about old newspapers, old magazines, and even old sheet music. So there you go. That is the answer to your question, gentle reader. That's why I like having so many things around me. And that's all. I'm out of time. Love you guys. Bye.